Hello everyone, thank you for your participation in today's session. My name is Martin from Wind Information. I'm so glad to be here today and introduce Wind Financial Terminal to you. So today we are going to introduce how US Treasury shapes global assets based on our new function, that is Alice Economic Database. So in the series of Wind Insights, we will provide you a series of training programs involving several different perspectives in financial market. Our formal live stream, as you can see on the slide, contain topic, for example, related to economic research, stock market, and also bond market. If you want to watch the past live stream, you can search for the Wind Insights Essential Training Series and find the past roadshows here. And if you wish to see the latest upcoming live stream, I strongly recommend you to subscribe our channel. Okay, so before we explore how to use our Alice Economic Database in our daily work, I'd like to briefly introduce us Wind as a company. Founded in year 1998 and headquartered in Shanghai, Wind Information is a pioneer and leader in Asia's financial information service industry, serving a diverse range of domestic and foreign institutional clients from 48 countries. So our product and data matrix surely can enhance your efficiency dramatically. Okay, let's move on. Today we will experience how US bonds affect major asset classes with the newly launched AI application achievements of Economic Database, and see how Alice Economic Database helps you improve your work efficiency. So what I want to emphasize today is that we don't need any operations, indicator search, or charting. We just need to ask Alice Economic Database questions, and it can help us extract data, generate charts, and so on. Okay, so first let me introduce the capabilities of our Alice Economic Database. So overall, as our intelligent assistant, Alice Economic Database can help us improve work efficiency in two major aspects: intelligent search and intelligent graphing. In terms of intelligent search, we can search for economic indicators using natural language, easily and accurately finding the indicators we need. Alice Economic Database can help everyone get rid of the traditional way of searching through node expansion, and also avoid repetitive search and screen operations, thereby improving our work efficiency. It is not only an intelligent search engine, but also proficient in various economic languages. Our model can also conduct precise associations for open-ended questions through in-depth reflection. For regional groupings and tentative names, Alice can quickly break them down. For example, data on China's province, etc. For common institutional tentative names and nicknames, Alice can also quickly identify them. For instance, data of major banks or data of new energy vehicle companies from various demonstrations. In addition, Alice Economic Database can provide accurate interpretations of economic concepts and professional terms mentioned in questions. For example, it can understand macroeconomic focus data of certain countries and commonly used economic terms. Regarding industry data, Alice also has knowledge reverse about the upper and lower reaches of the industrial chain. For example, if you want to find data related to the battery raw materials. In addition, the data found through intelligent search will also be intelligently integrated and associated. For example, data from multiple statistical sources and year-on-year or the month-on-month data. These contents will be shown to everyone one by one in the following course. Okay, so next I will introduce these tools one by one by using the heated discussed case. So how US bonds affect global assets. So first of all, if we need to study the influencing factors of US bonds, we can first review this June. On the 3rd of June 2025, the US Department of the Treasury repurchased $10 billion in US Treasury bonds, marking the largest single-day repurchase in history. This operation not only exceeded previous records but also reflected the Treasury's proactive measures to address market liquidity needs. The $10 billion figure specifically targeted bonds maturing between 2025 and 2027, aiming to alleviate short-term market friction through rapid cash injection. Such unprecedented scale underscores the critical role of US Treasuries in stabilizing global financial systems, even as concerns about debt sustainability persist. So next, we can use our LS economic database to specifically analyze what the core influencing factors of US bonds are. So first, let's switch to the terminal, and here we can quickly enter into the economic database under the micro column, and here we can see the economic database section, and we can click this economic database to get access into it. So there is a dot on the left side of the search box, indicating that the important AI applications are included here. So if you click it, and here we provide two models. So the first one is the deep search, and the second is the process search. So for the deep search, the AI will provide us with as many relevant indicators as possible based on the content of the question. If you select this deep search option, it will switch to the deep search model, and if you unselect this one, it will switch to the process search model. The AI will select indicators with higher matching degrees according to the requirements of the questions. So here we will choose the deep search model and enter the content we want to study in the diagram box. So the first one is our first question, that is, what are the influencing factors of US bonds? Okay, so after importing, Alice Economic Database will analyze the influencing factors. And for the open-ended question about these influencing factors in the query, it will break down the influencing factors of US bonds actually into four aspects. So the first one is the microeconomics. The second one, let's move on. It will be the monetary and fiscal policy. And the third one will be the supply and demand in the US Treasury market. And the final one will be the international economic indicators. So the fund data is indeed highly relevant to the influencing factors of US bonds. So in the indicator list, you can see that some factors have labels. For example, here you can see the CAL label means you can find data with many different syllables here. And further down, you can see here, for example, we will have the SRC label. So this allows you to view the same data from different sources. If you want to see the specific interpretation of an indicator, so you can here click into the notebook of this indicator, and here you can check the current indicator explanation, statistical criteria, release rules, etc. So below here, we can see there is an indicator that is called the US non-farm change in employees, or in other words, the US non-farm change in employees. Sometimes, the data publisher may revise the released data for various reasons. So revised data of data sources can also be found and used in economic database. You only need to add the indicator as I just show you, double click it. And here you can find, here is a label called PIT, or in other words, that is called the point in time. You can click this label to view the data and the date of each revision. You can directly add the indicators before and after revision. Here, for example, we can choose the 4th of April, and we can add revisions of this indicator. Okay, so here let's move on. So here we can select the key macroeconomic indicators for analysis. So such as we can ask to use the 2nd and the 5th indicator. So that is the CPI of the America, and also the indicator we just mentioned, that is the non-farm change in employees. Okay, to ask her to create a graph and give it an appropriate title. So here our ALS economic database will find the 2nd and the 5th indicators and generate a suitable chart and title based on the attributes and data of the indicators. As you can see these two indicators from this graph, and ALS economic database will also intelligently split the access of these two indicators with different units. So next we can optimize the chart. For example, we can ask her to display the latest values and change the date to the recent 2 years. Okay, and we can see that our ALS EDB will adjust the graph and finally provide you with the latest statistic and within 2 years. Okay, finally, you can ask her to simplify the legend. Okay, the legend is here, the label here. You can see Alice will change the legend to simplify it, and furthermore, you can swap the colors of the bar chart and the line chart. Also you can adjust the color of each graph. Alright, so finally we will get the graph and the statistic we want. And here you can click the copy to directly paste it into a report or document for immediate use. This is the process for the first graph. Okay, so let's go back to the slides, and on the left-hand side here, I provide you with the final results, and on the right-hand side, it is the operations, or in other words, it's the question I asked our ALS economic database. Now, first, what are the influencing factors to find the indicators? Second, ask her to create a graph using any of these indicators. And the third is to display the latest values and change into the recent 2 years. And finally, you can change the color and simplify the legend. Okay, so the second topic is the impact of US bonds on stock markets. Theoretically, US stocks and US bonds are negatively correlated most of the time. However, since 2022, the 24 months correlation between US stocks and bonds has turned positive, which reflects that the safe haven attribute of US bonds is weakening. Currently, the recent yield of US bonds indicates that the US fiscal risk premium is increasing. So you can use the Standard Poor Index and the 10-year Treasury yield to show this issue. Okay, so let's switch to the terminal and use our ALS EDB to show you this case. Okay, so first, let's analyze the impact of US bonds on stock markets. So here, let's ask the first question. What impact do US bonds have on major countries and regions? And yeah, you can see which countries or regions indicator it has found. Just hold for a minute. Our Alice economic database is searching the statistic and find the most related ones for you. Okay, cool. So here we will get the result. So here you can see first the United States, and second you can see that is the China Asias, and also we will have the Japan, Germany, etc. For example, if I focus on the stock markets on China and the United States, so here I can choose these two indicators, and furthermore I can choose some exchange rate indicators for analysis. So the next we can choose some macroeconomic indicators and also the capital flow indicators here. Okay, so after I select the indicators of China and the United States, and I can directly tell Alice to help me create a graph. So here you can continue to click the code here and to let her make a graph. Let's ask her to draw a graph with stacked indicators and ask her to separate into 4 graphs. Okay, so let's see what will we get. Okay, our Alice EDB will, so continue to draw this graph based on our indicators and based on our command. Yeah, and furthermore, after she generates this graph, we can ask it to create titles for the graph, including, the main title and the subtitles. Okay. And yeah, let's hold on for a minute. Yeah, after she, automatically generates the subtitles and the main title, and finally you can, ask her to adjust this graph with, more details. For example, please change the y-axis of the top 2 graphs to the left. Okay. And finally, remember, we can switch, the color of any indicator, and also we can ask her to, for example, let's say, display the latest values. Okay, and finally, you will get the ideal graph. If you want to track the graph for a long time, so sometimes you want to see the latest statistics and also draw this graph. So here first you can add it to the chart. And second, here we will provide you a function that is called the save. So you can here use this function to save the template. Well, so today is the 13th of August. So let's name it the 13th of August and click OK. So next time, if you want to open your template and continue your work, so you can click the open function here and quickly click this one to continue your work. And while some of you are used to using Excel file for daily work, so here you can export these statistics into the Excel. And if you click this function here, that means the automatically update. So you will export a wind function, and which will help you to update data subsequently. Okay, so this is for the the second case, and on the left hand side, this is the graph I just asked Alice to generate. And on the right hand side, here are the questions. First, let Alice to find the indicators. Ask what impact do US bonds have on the stock markets. And second, ask her to create a graph. And third, you can see, you can change the units, add the main title, and simplify the legend of this graph. Okay, so next, let's take a look at the impact of US bonds on the US dollar. Earlier, we mentioned that the market has concerns about US bonds risk. The US fiscal easing policies have raised doubts about US credit risks. Against this backdrop, on the 17th of July 2025, the United States passed the Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for U.S. Stable Accounts Act, which stipulates that the proportion of short-term U.S. bonds should not be less than 80%. Similarly, we can analyze the impact of U.S. bonds on the U.S. dollar through our economic database. So here, for example, let's switch to the terminal. Okay, so we will still ask a question. So what is the impact of US bonds on the US dollar? Okay, then our Alice economic database will help us to find the indicators related to this question. Okay, so let's hold for a minute. Okay, our Alice is searching the statistics and finally will provide us with the results. Okay, so the second step is you can use these indicators to create a graph, as I just showed you. So for example, you can create a graph using the selected statistics. Let's say for the bond market, we will select, the 10-year US Treasury yield, and next we will select some exchange rate. For example, the US dollar and the China yen, the US dollar and the Europe dollar, and also the US dollar and the Japan yen. And let's use this code function and ask her to, use these 4 select indicators to draw a graph. Okay, just hold for a minute and our Alice economic database will create the graph for you. Okay, so remember we can adjust the graph as I just mentioned. We can change the y-axis of the top left graph to the left, and we can set an overall title and the subtitles. And finally, what's more, so here we can change the top 2 graphs into a seasonal map. Well, sometimes we want to analyze the seasonal effect, whether there is seasonal effects for some microeconomic statistics. So here, then our Alice economic database will help us to generate the seasonal map for this kind of need. And finally, you can set the overall title and subgraph titles. Okay, so finally you will get a graph like I show on the slide on the left-hand side, and on the right are the questions I asked our Alice to do. The first is to ask what is the impact of US bonds on the US dollar. The second one is to create a graph using, you can ask her to use the recent 5 years data of these 4 indicators and draw 4 graphs and add 4 subgraph titles. And the third one is to move the top left graph, axis to the left. And finally, you can change it to a seasonal map and set the overall title and the subtitle as you want. Okay, so some cross-border asset investors, such as service funds or insurance institutions, regard government bonds of various countries as liquidity substitutes. For example, when US Treasury yields rise, they will shift liquidity from markets such as Japan and Europe to the US market. So when the issuance of government bonds increase, it can boost the supply of safety assets, thereby attracting cross-border capital inflows. And finally, we can analyze the government bond data of major countries. So here we will mainly look at the government bond issuance situation of these major countries, as you can see on the slide, and see what data is available. So first, let's switch to the terminal and ask our Alice to search the government bond issuance status of major countries. Okay, so let's see what our Alice economic database will search and provide us, with the listed indicators. Okay, also here we can create a new template for this case. Okay, so you can see our Alice economic database has automatically generated all these statistics. And here we can add some of these indicators to the right. For example, we can, first one, that is the US monthly treasury amount. And the second, be careful about the, the frequency. So it will be the monthly. So the second will be the Japan. The third is the Germany. The fourth is the France. And the fifth is the Italy. And the sixth is the Greece. And the seventh is the Spain. Okay, so let's add these 7 indicators. And another function I would like to highly recommend is here, called the AI function. So our AI function will help you, quickly adjust all these data. For example, the frequency, the unit, the currency, and how to deal with the gaps. As you can see on the, right-hand side here, for different indicators, they may have different units. For the US Treasury amount, that will be the US dollar, but for the Japan, that will be the Japan yen. So we can choose all the indicator and click the AI model and click load. And finally, all these indicators will be adjusted to the same unit and, to the same frequency. Okay, so what's more, we will use this indicator to draw the graph. So here, another function I would like to recommend in this case is the act function. So here on the diagram box, you can use the act and choose the indicator not only from the left-hand side, but also from the right-hand side. These are the indicator, generated from the AI mode. And be careful about the ID of the indicator. So in this case, we will choose the S1, S2, S3, S4, and until S7. And finally, I asked our Alice to help me create a download chart using the indicators selected with the statistics from June 2025. Use the latest statistics. So our Alice economic database will use these adjusted indicators and quickly draw a suitable graph for me. So this is the graph that, based on a download chart. And finally, also you can ask her to come up a title and keep only the region names in the legend. Okay, and remember, we can switch the the color of each legend, and also ask her to do more operations in this graph. Well, so I've mentioned all these operations in the previous cases, so let's move on. Yeah, here on the left-hand side, this is the graph. I used these, commands to draw the final graph. And on the right-hand side, these are the questions I ask our Alice economic database. First, ask her to find the government bond issuance status. Second, remember we use the AI model to adjust all the indicators, and we use the act function to ask her create a donut chart using the statistics after our AI model adjustment. And third, you can ask her to come up with a title and keep only the regional names in the legend. And finally, you can ask her to change the color into a business style. And finally, you will get a graph like this one. Okay, so the overall research framework has been shared with everyone. And finally, let's summarize and review the main capabilities of Alice Economic Database. So our Alice Economic Database mainly includes intelligent search and intelligent graph modification. This covers the breakdown of regional institutions, the understanding of economic terms, intelligent indicator search, as well as intelligent graph creation and modification with a single sentence. It also supports modifying units with one sentence. In the future, we will explore more in-depth applications of our Alice economic database, including micro-interpretation, common data processing, and calculation, which will be promoted in our Alice economic database subsequently. We also hope that everyone will pay more attention to our Alice economic database. Okay, so that's all for today's sharing. Thank you very much for all your participation. See you.